Part 3 Ending of the Real Fit. Other parts down below. Do I expect her to be honest with me? No. Nothing she's done gives me any reason to expect honesty or trust. Why would she change now? I guess part of me wants to think this change in her is temporary, that the woman I knew is still in there somewhere. And now that I say that, I realize just how foolish that is. She's gone. What do I expect to gain? That's more complicated. At a basic level, I think I just want to feel less hurt, less betrayed. And I'm worried the codependent side of me wants to save her from what she's doing. I guess I really have nothing to gain here. This isn't going to help me. I can't control her or the situation. It's her life to live, even if she's flushing her integrity down the toilet. As for OM's wife, if I had anything concrete, something undeniably incriminating, I'd get it to her. But I don't. I have enough for myself to realize there's at least an Iya happening, but not enough to prove it to her. I wish I did. I really do feel for the woman, and hope for her family's sake OM comes to his senses and backs out of this if he's not already gone too far. I know the ex has a strong emotional attachment to him, and there's far more communication between them than is appropriate. I'm 99% certain it's an Iya, but if there's a 1% chance I'm wrong, do I have the right to put their family into turmoil? Or do I need to warn her that there is at least a potential problem? Had a good day yesterday. Was able to feel somewhat at peace with my situation in life. Spent some time playing video games, something I gave up when this started. Something I've always enjoyed, but it had turned into an escape for me later in our relationship. Decided it was a hobby I missed, and that I could handle it again. Hung out with the neighbor for a while. Made myself a good dinner. Nothing spectacular, but a pretty decent day. Today not so much. Been obsessing about things since the moment I woke up. Trying to step back, figure out why I'm feeling like this, and let it pass. Folks here say to get to 50,000. Feel more like I'm at 10,000. I think part of what makes it hard is the unanswered questions, and knowing I'm never going to get an answer. When did she check out? Why didn't she try harder before that? Didn't she see her part in this? When exactly did she change from being the woman I knew? How far did things go with OM, and for how long? Why did she walk away after I tried to step up? Why did she have that conversation with me the day she left? Why did she agree to meet a month later when she knew we weren't on the same page? Why has she dragged all this out? Why has she tried to initiate contact after I made my position clear? And how can a person change so much so quickly, from someone my codependent self put on a pedestal, to someone I want gone from my life? Or maybe more appropriately, how long was I blind? I'll never get all the answers. Yet it's my nature to find answers and fix problems. A great trait in my career, but a pretty lousy trait in my personal life. Maybe accepting that I can't get all the answers is just going to be a part of the healing process for me. I'm certainly learning that I can't fix everything, and it's a painful lesson. And with the questions, there's the feeling that go with them. Hurt, loss, anger, resentment, betrayal, sadness, grief. I'm trying to step back and let it pass. Just easier said than done. I keep wishing I could fast forward through the next few months and get to that better point I see ahead of me. But I can't. I think the changes I've made for myself so far have made me a better person. I guess I need to try and stay on this track and try to take something positive out of this. On a brighter note, I'm getting a Christmas gift today. Texted her on Mon that she still needs to get her things from the garage. As expected, I got excuses because she hasn't gotten her things yet. Held my ground, kept it to business, and was clear she needed to do it this week. So, she's coming this afternoon. Don't know why she's not going to be with her family instead, but that's not my problem. I won't be here, so I won't have to see her, but I'm looking forward to coming home to the last of her things gone. In the past, I don't think I've been someone that needs to convince people of things. With most situations, I'm fine with others having a different point of view. I'd try to make my point for a while and move on. Lately, sometimes I do. Half the time I'm trying to convince myself this will work out for the best, and that I'll be okay. Some conversations with friends, I'll try to convince them I'm doing better than I am. I think I'm really just trying to convince myself. Say you'll be okay enough times, and you start to believe it. Comments. 1. Take all he craps and put it on her dad's porch. That will help stop thinking that some material goods might somehow start a conversation between you that will lead to it isn't going to happen. And that fantasy. 2. You won't tell us how you learned about her. Iya concealing the info from us only has one purpose. You don't want posters to tell you what is going on. Why? To preserve the R fantasy. 3. Iya or PA. No married man and LTR woman exchange all those words without talking about how great the other is. Your ex has told him all kinds of negative stuff about you to match his complaints about his B. He told your ex that his wife once had her period and left her crimson panties in the bathroom sink soaking in cold water. He shaved and left all the whiskers and shaving cream floating on top like scum. They had a fight over it. He forgot to pay a bill. She went ape crap. You left the toothpaste cap off. You threw away an envelope with discount coupons. You were needy. Tally all the calls and texts they have made each other and give that info to OMW. Ask when she thinks they started banging. She may even have an approximate date on the tip of her tongue. 3. UX. Has she been kidnapped by aliens and replaced by a clone that does not love you? She was bored in your relationship. OM chased her or she chased him, and once she was unfaithful in heart and mind, she became a different person. She has dragged out the split up to avoid getting the cheater stamp. She succeeded. 4. In your next relationship you may do better. 5. Your ex is messing up her life by getting involved with a married man. 6. You quit smoking and started swimming. Awesome. Smoking is very bad for the small blood vessels that power your junk. OP responds. 1. Was going to already, couldn't get her bike in my car. Either way, she's picking her stuff up today, and I won't be here to see her. 2. Wasn't to preserve the R fantasy. Went Facebook snooping. Kind of surprised I didn't do it earlier. The conversation I found between her and a friend was enough to finally convince me, but found nothing direct between them. I just felt like a dirtbag for doing it. 3. E or PA, who knows? Looks like at least E regardless of how far it went. Inappropriate is an understatement. I'm trying to just be glad she's gone, but this is a hard thing to try and get past. 4. I hope so. I want to get back out there, but the idea of ending up in a similar situation scares me. 5. Without a doubt. And I'm fighting with the codependent side of me that wants to stop her from doing it. I know I can't, but the urge is there. 6. Swimming was great. I can't wait to go back. I miss running, but we'll get by with weightlifting and the occasional hike until the weather gets better. Smoking, I've had some setbacks. Was doing great, but I let the stress get to me and gave in. Back to weaning myself off with an e-cig again. It definitely goes against getting active, and it's not going to make me more attractive to other women, so I need to do better on this. 2 months later, I had decided to step back for a while and not fixate on my problems as much. Try to get used to living my life again. Thankfully, I have some good friends I've been able to lean on through this. Anyway, I'm finding myself gradually doing better as time goes by. Had broken NC after Christmas. Texted back and forth for a few days. Went badly as before. Me telling her what I wanted and how I felt and getting nothing of any real substance in return. Haven't broken NC since. It's been over a month now, and I feel I'm doing better for it. Every couple weeks I'll get the urge to reach out to her again, but now it's different. It doesn't feel like that codependent need I used to feel. More that I miss her and wish we could have worked things out. Now when I get that urge to text her, I think about the last time I did and how I got nothing out of it. And how I've said everything I could, and that there really isn't any magic thing I can say to get through to her. She's made her choice, and I have to keep working on moving on. I've been having more good days than bad anymore, and they're not to the extremes they used to be. Finally, been leveling out, getting my head together, and learning to deal with my emotions better. Been starting to think about putting myself out there and dating again, but I'm not really ready. My ex has been gone for several months, but I didn't really give up until a month ago. I still need to spend more time on my own and keep working on getting my life together. Had a hard day today and thought it might help to come back here. Finally brought me to getting her old stuff off the computer and sorting away some old pictures. Brought up a lot of memories and got me thinking about how much I miss her, or at least miss who she was before this. Sometimes I wonder if she ever was who I thought she was. Whether she ever was that woman I loved and thought I'd spend my life with, or if that was just a mask worn by who she is today. But I try not to put too much thought into it, as it doesn't really do me any good. I think she was that woman and changed at some point. I never did get the closure I needed, and I'm accepting that I never will. I wish I had a better understanding of when things changed, when she changed, and why. Looking back now, she never had the decency to really talk to me about things after she left. One awkward meet at a coffee shop, no phone conversations, and some texting with no real substance from her. From her actions, all I can tell is that she doesn't care about me and wants me out of her life. It feels like she just wants to run away from the whole situation, and I can't fight with that anymore. Her life, her choice, her decisions. Anyway, that's where I find myself lately. Not happy about how things turned out with my ex, but I'm learning to move on, and feeling better about myself. I do still miss her, but really have a pretty wide mix of emotions toward her anymore. A lot of folks have told me it takes time, and I see what they mean. A month later, been doing pretty well up until this weekend. Trying to keep focused on me and learning to live life by my own standards and not hers. Just learning to be single again. Ended up hearing from the ex on Sun. Had no contact until then since late deck. Texted me using my, formerly our, pet as an excuse to see how we're doing. Let it sit for a while, then decided to respond and see what she wanted. Ended up just having a basic conversation, nothing serious. It's been bothering me a lot since. I felt like I was making good progress until then. I'd let go of the R fantasies and been mostly looking forward. Now I'm back to thinking about her. Trying to figure out what she wants, why she hit me up out of nowhere. It's a step backwards, and it's reopened a lot of wounds. My gut reaction is to try and deal with it head on. Ask her flat out whether she actually wants to talk about us. If she does, fine, we can talk and see where that goes. If not, make it clear I'm not okay with hearing from her on a casual basis. But if I've learned anything, it's that my instincts are broken when it comes to her. Every time I tried to be direct, open up, reach out, it went badly for me. Going to NC at the end of the year was against every instinct I had at the time, but turned out to be the best decision I could have made. Seems my alternative is to just let it go and deal with it if it happens again. Was my original plan with this, but I'm finding it hard to let it go. Really torn on what to do from here. Initiating any contact with her feels like a bad idea, but so does doing nothing. Feeling a bit frustrated today and need to vent. I've kept NC with the ex since my last post and been doing well with that until today. Not even sure why it hit me again today, but it did. It's crazy the kind of hold someone can have over you. After everything I've been through, part of me still wants to try and I know I need to keep up NC, and that if she wants to talk, she can say so. And she hasn't, which should speak for itself. But when my instinct is to try to talk to her, not doing so makes me feel like I'm playing a sick game of who goes first. On a good day, I feel like I'm over her and ready to move on. Then I have a day like today and realize I'm not over her, finding it confusing and frustrating. I know I've been doing better overall, even had a friend who I hadn't seen in a few months tell me how much happier I seem. Maybe I'm just expecting to get over this faster than I really can. Every time I tried talking to her last year it put her in control, and I got pretty well crapped on for it. Guess I'm just looking for more of the same if I try talking first again. If, when she tries to chat, text again, it leaves the conversation a bit more in my hands. I know she's an adult, and if she wanted to start talking, she would. And she hasn't, which should tell me everything I need to know. Still feels like a game of who goes first, and I don't want to play. Maybe my problem is wanting to apply logical thinking to an emotional situation. I broke down last night and called her. No texting, just called her. I pretty well expected it would go badly but did it anyway. Didn't go like I thought. Feeling confused. Talked for nearly an hour. A lot of it was us catching up, talking like we used to. Talking about what we've been doing, friends, family, living situations. Later in the conversation I asked her if she wanted to do anything about how things went. She asked me whether I was talking about being friends, getting back together, or finding closure. Told her I wanted to see whether there was enough left between us where we could work on getting back together. She said she's getting to a point where she can start talking about things. She told me she doesn't want to commit to dating or getting romantically involved, that she's trying to take her life one day at a time. My response was that I don't want to jump straight into her coming home, or dating. That I want to see if we actually can work on things at all. But I was clear I'm not interested in just being friends. She said she thinks we need to work on being friends first before anything else. That it was something we lacked in our relationship. And she said she wants to keep working on our communication, wants to keep talking, eventually meet up. At the end of the conversation, I said I guess we'll figure out where we go from here. She said we'll talk sooner than later. First time since she left that I've felt we had an honest discussion. Talked about some of the things that went wrong in our relationship, and some of the things we did that were unfair to each other. Talked about the anxiety and awkwardness we both felt talking to each other again. At one point when I told her she sounds happy, she said not to think there aren't nights she cries herself to sleep. Right now, I'm feeling really confused. Part of me wants her back, part of me wants to stay away from her to keep from getting hurt again. Not sure whether I screwed up talking first, and this soon. But it seems I've opened the door to communication. I'm not clear on what I want right now, or where this might go. And I'm still trying to process this, but I do want to see where this goes. I've still got some hard questions about why she left, but I think if I push too hard right now, she'll clam up again. Only thing I'm sure of is that it's her move now. She said she wants to work on our communication and keep talking. Need to see if she means it. If she does, she'll initiate. Hadn't occurred to me that I may have just walked myself into Plan B territory. Got fixated on having had a conversation she didn't run away from, and that she wants to keep talking. Maybe I got blinded by what I wanted to see. Realizing now that while I did open the door to communication, she's setting the terms. Not sure what to do with this now. Needed to take some time and process everything. At first, calling her seemed like it may have turned out to be a good idea. Now I'm thinking what I really got out of it was an emotional roller coaster the last week. People, you've both told me repeatedly that I need to stop initiating. I think that's finally sinking in. I can't make her want to or can't make someone love you. Been asking myself if I can keep putting myself through this, and I don't think I can. I need to be better at accepting my situation and getting okay with it. Not sure whether she's going to follow up on our conversation and contact me. Not sure what I'll do with that if she does, or what that's going to do to me. I think all I can do at this point is proceed as if I'm not going to hear from her, which is entirely possible. Have to say thinking about this and trying to accept it has left me feeling pretty lonely tonight. 2 weeks later, doing better for the most part. Been trying to keep focused on the rest of my life. Weather's getting better, which helps. Getting back into running again, something I missed over the winter. Cut back pretty hard on smoking, kind of a necessity with swimming and running. Looking to get into biking as well. Never learned when I was a kid. Have several friends that are into it. As for things with the ex, it's still a confusing situation. It's sunk in that my initiating communication with her probably wasn't the way to go. Don't think she knows what she wants, which makes communication seem pretty pointless. Overall, I'm just burned out on trying with her, and finally get that I can't make her want or not even sure if I do anymore. We chatted a bit over text last week, and it didn't really faze me, felt kind of numb to it. I've put myself in an awkward spot where I either need to write it out and see what happens or tell her not to contact me. Right now, I'm just writing it out with no expectations. I've had several friends suggest I start dating while I take a wait-and-see approach with her. I'd be lying if I said it doesn't have its appeals. I do miss having someone to spend time with, do things with. I miss the intimacy you have in a relationship. Doesn't feel right though, and I don't think it's something I really want right now. Think I'm better off staying focused on myself. Started reading Rebuilding When Your Relationship Ends last night, and it seems to get some pretty positive reviews. I'm trying to figure out where to go from here, so maybe it'll help. I keep trying to remind myself that I don't need to be in a hurry. And honestly, the idea of dating brings up a lot of anxiety for me. I was 18 or 19 when I started dating my ex and still lived at home. Having never dated as an adult, I feel pretty clueless about it. And with me still trying to get over this, plenty of reasons for me to not be in a hurry. Having a bit of a down morning, thinking about the ex and everything that's happened over the last 6 months, and feeling a bit like a fool for being stuck on the hope of our this long. Looking back, she told me she was leaving in October, and it came out of nowhere. I did everything I could to her. She wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't hear me out on counseling, and put me through an emotional roller coaster while she took her time over the next month leaving. We had what felt like a real conversation the day she left and agreed to talk in a month. Where'd that get me? Hanging on to hope of R so she could later agree to meet, then walk out on me when I wanted to talk. Every time since I tried communicating with her, it went poorly. And again, last month, I called her telling me she wants to work on communication. What happens? Here I am, a month later, and how has she shown she wants to work on our communication? One text conversation. I'm left asking myself, what am I doing? She pretty much faked the relationship being okay for who knows how long, up until she told me she was leaving. She put me through an emotional roller coaster before she left. What kind of person tells their so they're leaving them, then thinks it's cool to sleep next to them naked the same night? She was still here on Halloween, and when friends, family dropped by, she had no problem pretending everything was okay. Every time she's agreed to talk about us, she was either stringing me along or lying. And while I have no concrete proof, it seems the odds are good there was someone else. I'm asking myself, why do I want this person back in my life? She's not who I thought she was. I don't have any illusions about our relationship being perfect before. We had major problems that weren't being addressed. I still think we might have worked through them with counseling and effort, but that takes two. She wasn't willing. The last 6 months I held on to the hope of R with her, that something might change, and I've got nothing to show for it. What I do have is some positive changes in my life, some new hobbies, new experiences, and a better understanding of myself. I'm sad our relationship is over. I don't think it had to go this way, but it is. Been giving this a lot of thought, and I think it's past time I give up on R right now. I don't even want to hear from her. I just want to work on moving on now. Sorry for the long post, but I had to get this out. Been kind of a rough week so far. Still accepting that there's no point in hoping things will change with the ex and trying to process it. Thinking about it has reopened a lot of wounds, and I'm trying to work through it as best I can. I've hit some pretty angry and sad points and let myself slip with smoking and exercise. Feels more like a temporary thing though, so something to work on next week, I guess. Didn't expect to be going through this kind of emotional turmoil again. But I find myself reevaluating a lot that's happened, and I feel like I'm seeing things from a different perspective. Maybe just more clearly, or just less biased. Still find me thinking about dating again. I think some of that is driven by being lonely and adapting to single life, but part of it is genuinely wanting to meet some new people, have some fun, and see what it's like. And as much as I hate to sound shallow, I've had zero intimacy with a woman for about 8 months and I'm starting to have a hard time dealing with that. Not the driving factor, but it's pushing me in that direction. I know I still need some time. I don't think dating would work out that well while I'm taking another ride on the roller coaster. Right now, I'm telling myself to hold off for a week or two while I try and get my head together, then see how I'm doing. Basically, conflicted, I guess. Would appreciate any advice on this. Not sure how other people deal with wanting to date, but not feeling ready either. Weeks later, been working on moving on with my life. Changed up the spare room I've been avoiding the last 6 months. Got rid of her old wardrobe, painted, picked up some furniture. Felt good. Got a call from the ex on Saturday. Was sitting on the porch relaxing after working on the spare room, having a particularly happy and peaceful moment. Anyway, she said she wanted to complain, vent about our mutual friend's girlfriend. Chatted a bit, wanted to know what I was up to, tell me what she's been up to, etc. Started asking me about what I was doing with the spare room. Apparently, she was hanging out with my friend and his girlfriend that day and he mentioned it. I get the feeling that's what triggered her to call. Kept my cool through the conversation. Didn't try to talk about us. None of my usual trying to get her back stuff. I just wanted off the phone. Still, this conversation messed with my head for a couple hours. Thankfully, I had a party to go to that night, and otherwise had a really good weekend. My problem now is what to do about contact with her. A couple months back I called her trying to open up communication with her, basically a last attempt. Then pretty recently I gave up after getting nothing out of her but one text conversation. Really wasn't expecting to hear from her again. Should have known better. Been trying to sort out how I feel about this the last couple days. A couple months ago this would have me thinking I had a shot at our not feeling so blind now. Odds are this was either her being curious or her trying to just be friends. I'm not okay with either. Part of me wants to push the issue, call her, and tell her if that's the direction us talking is going, then she shouldn't call me. But I don't want to initiate contact either. That's something the old desperate me kept doing, and I'm trying to work on being healthier and happier. Still, it's hard to completely switch from wanting and trying to open up communication for so long, to being ready to tell that person that since she chose to remove herself from my life, it's an all or nothing situation. So basically, I'm feeling conflicted about what to do now. I'm not interested in calling her and trying to get into a serious discussion. Don't want to make that mistake again. Just not sure what to do when I hear from her next. I have no obligation to respond to her unless I actually want to. Sat's call certainly wasn't needed and didn't do me any good. Letting it go to voicemail next time. Not going to call her either. More I think about that, the less I want to. Been having a good couple weeks. Going out, trying a few new things, feeling pretty good about life in general. Nice change of pace. Got this feeling last night that something is wrong though and couldn't put my finger on it. Been thinking about it since. Might just be me trying to get used to my new single life. But I think it's because I still miss my ex. Don't think anything particular triggered this, just kind of popped up. I still think there was better than bad in the relationship. We both made some bad choices. I think her decision to leave was wrong for both of us, but that's the hand life's dealt me and I've got to keep moving on. Just trying to deal with it and needed to vent. Will say this though, I've realized I needed something to trigger some change and personal growth in my life. Just wish this wasn't the cause. Couple weeks later, an update here is past due. Ended up talking with the ex again on and off. Met up at an arboretum earlier in the month. Didn't really specify if it was a date, as friends or what. Tried to just see how it would go. She said she didn't want to get back together, but some other things she said gave me mixed messages. Called her the next day to clarify what she said, and basically, she wants to work through our issues to be friends. That's it. Have to say I found it pretty insulting. She's told me before she thinks our relationship lacked things like good communication, and that we needed to be better friends, partners. That she would now want to work on the things she found lacking in the relationship, but not work on the relationship, just adds insult to injury. At the end of that call, she said we'd talk after she got back in town. I told her we'll see, and that I've got a lot to think about. I have thought a lot about it. Most of the time when we've talked, she wants to complain about family issues, mutual friends, etc. She's told me a few times that I'm the only one she can talk to about these things, that I'm the only one who gets it. I think she wants to keep me around as a friend of convenience, looking for the kind of support she'd get from me when we were together. I've pretty well decided that she's treated me poorly since this started, and she's continuing to do so. And I'm not having any of it. I'm trying to make my life better, and she's bringing me down. I regret not staying NC months ago. I'd be in a better place than I am now. So after not hearing from her for several weeks, quite happily, I get a text today. She accidentally shipped a package to the house and wants to make arrangements to pick it up. Figures. Weeks later, I did end up seeing my ex to hand off her package. Just met at a coffee shop near a shop I needed to go to so I wasn't wasting the drive. Didn't try talking about the relationship at all. Found the whole thing uncomfortable and was just glad when it was over. Don't really want any further contact with her, so I need to stop responding. On a more upbeat note, met a woman at a small party the other night. Close friend of a couple I'm friends with. We pretty much clicked early on. Party went past daybreak, with the two of us being the last ones up, and things did get fairly physical. Few of us hung out that afternoon too. Anyway, had a great time, and there seems to be a lot of mutual interest. Got her number and looking forward to seeing her again. It's been a long time since I've dated. Just going to try and keep an open mind and see how it goes. About half a year later, I reread a lot of things I wrote in the past. It's obvious I was desperate, lost, trying to grasp for what I lost regardless of the cost to myself, and what that was doing to me, all for someone that proved they weren't worth it. Really wish I'd have listened to the advice I got here from the start. Haven't been here much lately. Kind of got lost in a rebound relationship for about 5 months. Spotted a lot of red flags but made the mistake of ignoring them for too long. Also caught myself falling into some old bad habits, not dealing with issues, and eventually realized I had stopped working on myself. Ended it when I realized the relationship was not headed in a good direction. In some ways I let my own self-progress be held back, but I feel it was a good experience overall. Got past some of the apprehension of dating again, and a better idea of what I want and should watch for. Still working through a lot though, trying to get myself back on track. On the positive side, I'm past wanting anything to do with my ex. Lately I've been trying to deal with a lot of angry and resentful feelings towards my ex, and some loneliness. I've learned to appreciate a lot of things about living by myself, but sometimes the loneliness sets in. Also trying to get back into the healthier routines I was in, exercise, cooking, trying new things, etc. For the swimming, I eventually stopped taking classes. Kind of hit a wall where I stopped seeing improvements. Have been out to a local pool a few times since though. Also, picked up a nice bicycle I've been learning on. Yep, I was the weird kid that couldn't swim or ride a bike. Looking forward to some warmer weather. Unfortunately, still smoking. Was down to a couple a day but went back up a month or two ago. Working on that again now. Funny that you mentioned someone who is looking to be fixed. Pretty accurate description of the woman I was seeing. She had some good qualities, but also had a lot of issues, and was doing nothing to improve her situation. Seemed like she was waiting for the right guy to come along and fix everything for her. Not a healthy outlook, and not something I found attractive in the end. About whether I should have informed OM's wife. At the time, I just couldn't handle it. I was struggling to get through most days, and was having a hard time accepting that there could have been a OM now. I can look back, see there was some shady behavior, and accept that the woman I was in love with was not in fact who I thought she was. Still hurts, but I can accept it. Going forward, I'm trying to put it behind me, and hope I never find myself in that situation again. Been trying to work through some anger and resentment towards my ex lately and could use some advice. I think I finally worked out what's causing it. What she put me through, that's obvious. But I hate what I let myself turn into before she left, and months after. Was basically a shell of myself, like I had no self-respect left. Just kept coming back for more. I didn't have the outlook I do now. Was never able to call her out for what she was, or what she was doing. And there's no point now, she's out of my life. My question here, how does you get past this and put it behind you? I know I need to keep trying new things, try to make healthier decisions in my life, etc. And I feel like I'm in a much better place than before. Just having a hard time letting go of that. My comment, I hated the fact that OP was basically plan B most of the time. I get it, detach is not easy, but keep yourself busy with anything but her. That is the start of not being plan B I think moving forward. He just needs to keep himself busy, and he should do alright. At least he did not beg her back like some of the other stories we have seen on here. My advice just stays busy, and things will head to a better direction that way.